For the first hack, we have this a bit of boring. So we have to make it a bit more interesting and a bit more exciting as well. How do you do this? First, let's jump to the theory. So let's say this is your MIDI. So maybe you use a note here and then you take a break, and then comes the second note here, another break here. And then maybe you go up with the notes. Because everything is similar, even though we go up and down, it doesn't create too much tension. If you change your approach, this time you go for the longer stop, longer pause. That means this extended pause, extended fermata will create expectation and tension with your bass line. And one of the best way to meet the expectation is actually jumping up in the notes using escape notes and excite people and our bass lines even more. So in the first two halves, we will keep it this way. But at the second half, we have to bring the energy up. Just delete these two notes so that I can have a fermata here, so that I can create an expectation. Right here, we expect something to happen now. Then what, right? And the same idea here as well. I'm going to delete this and extend this. We need something a bit unexpected. And for this case, I'm going to use escape notes. So I'm going to jump upwards, go to the octaves, and then we go definitely a D and then an octave A again. You see what happened there? And we're going to apply the same technique here as well. First, we're going to go to A flat and then we're going to go to D flat. So it kind of gives a bit closure because now we go back to the original notes so that we don't use them again. And then we just copy paste the same thing over bass layers. And together they sound like this. Suddenly, track feels much more exciting and bass complements the effects beautifully. And the second hack is layering for a theme. I have this beautiful techno loop here. So this bass sound that is coming from an analog techno preset pack is quite nice and beautiful. Problem is it doesn't have this aggressiveness because this is a techno track. We need this really aggressive sound. So what we are going to do first, layer this one with a more aggressive sawtooth. We're going to go for unison and we want this high end, this grittiness to sound. Listen how it changes the theme together with the other elements. But this bass still needs supportive bass sound. So if we take a look at the notes, when we go down here, we can give this deep warehouse feel with supporting another bass step. So again, layering for the theme, creating this post-apocalyptic techno warehouse theme here. So what I'm going to do, go again to my analog techno. We have something like this. Just emphasize these notes, these low ones. Means that we can delete all the other notes, keep the F sharp here. Adding a small utility automation right at the beginning of the sound so that this is kind of more stable. It's a very classic technique. Something like this, right? Cool and nice. And the final piece here is actually just duplicating the same preset, but this time focusing on this going up notes. Put one octave above and make it brighter so that we have this interesting brightening up sound when we go up. If you take a listen, you can hear how it sounds. And together with the original sound. It is magical, isn't it? So easy, so simple. Automate the gain as well for this going up and down so that it kind of comes a bit from the background and goes to front. Duplicate this and let's listen all together and see how it sounds. So simple yet so powerful. This brings us to the next one. We are changing the mood a little bit, going for a house track. We have something like this. Cool bass sound, but it is always same. A little bit automation here. Now we have small drop here, but we still keep the bass the same. And it feels like we are kind of lacking something. It kind of doesn't make sense, right? And there comes the ABC section. And if we take a look at the bass pattern, we have a nice rooms here that we can create the new patterns and evolve the pattern itself. Start with the simplest one here, maybe like this. Make it a bit more advanced here, maybe around. And then when we maybe hit the drop here, a bit more faster, more aggressive, right? How we can do this? Keep the original idea, but develop on top of that. So let's break this repeatedness here. So I'm going to move something like this and add one more so that we are more repeating. We are basically from here to here. We can repeat this all the time, for example, maybe something like this, bam, 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 bam. And after the drop, we can make it even much more interesting. What I want to this time, move around the note. So rather than using the D sharp all the time, I'm going to move around and create a kind of a melody. Maybe we can go down here, right? Something like this. And then maybe up. And with a little bit extra note, it becomes something like this. So because we are increasing the number of notes and we are creating a new melody, it kind of changes the mood of the track. Keep it simple in the beginning. Get the faster rhythm. Building up. And this brings us to the final piece. And in the final hack, we will take a look at how modulations can spice up and transform your bass melodies. We have a beautiful loop sounding like this. Again, the bass sound is actually coming from my analog techno preset pack, but if you go back now, the main problem is it is not interesting enough. It's not really able to carry the track at the moment. Again. In the MIDI clips in Ableton, you can come in this modulation screen and actually modulate anything that you want. I don't like to use this screen too much. The reason being that it makes that I have to click one more time and go in that screen. I like to keep everything in a single screen, in this case the automation screen here. So my idea here, because it's an analog sound, there's definitely possibility to using pitch bends to give this my crying or screaming or racking sound, right? I'm going to start implementing fast pitch bends in a certain place, for example, maybe here. So you hear that? It really pulls up that high note in the front and makes it much more interesting. And we can definitely do the same thing again. A couple of high notes here. Let's use some of them. Something like this, for example. We have another high note here. And then we have this going up here. I'm using a bit more smoother version. All together. Beautiful. However, other thing. Now, while we are making this real sound, we can definitely support that also maybe opening up the cutoff a bit more, so that when those high reels comes in, they are more open and more to the face. And then maybe go down and then maybe go up, emphasize going up again, supporting with the cutoff, and then maybe just duplicate this. And a bit more maybe aggressive, something like this. Really gorgeous. And then we are going down, maybe we can change the envelope. So maybe bring it down a little bit and we are opening up, maybe open up the envelope. So what that means actually, you can go to Serum and play with it. You see, if you have a MIDI keyboard, use your MIDI keyboard, maybe map the sustain to your MIDI keyboard so you can turn the knobs. If you don't have it, it's fine. You can actually play with the mouse and record it at the same time on top of the existing automations. Let's go. It looks something like this. But I like to do oftentimes simplify envelope so that I can edit the way I want afterwards much easier. Now it sounds like this.